I am Dr. Jude Janville, and my subject matter today is justice for women.
Hi, I'm Anastasia Ross, and my topic today is politics, the debacle, and is it worth my vote?
Hi, my name's Asher McKenzie, and looking at what's happened with a lady and her partner, my question is, where have all the kind women gone?
Hi, I'm Cynthia. My subject matter is the church looking at the wrong generation when it comes to connecting with the community? Hello, welcome to the IN2G show. We're here again to have another conversation. I'm really looking forward to this because you know why? I'm actually going to be the person going to be speaking first. But before we start with me, I'm going to introduce you, or they're going to introduce themselves, who is on the panel for this week. So who is it?
Hi, it's Anastasia, and I am here from Animus Thing. Do you want to know what I do?
Welcome. Welcome.
My name is Asher McKenzie, and I'm here from the McKenzie family.
And hello, and who are you then?
The last time I checked, I was still Jude Janville. And the last of 8 siblings, my father took the Bible literally when it said to be fruitful and multiply.
Oh, wow. Welcome. Welcome, guys. So I'm going to start off, as I said, I'm going to start off with my subject matter for today first. And it's going to be a reactional. So I want you guys to watch this video and then I want you to, let's have a conversation about it.
The thing I want to drive home for us is that essentially we're 3 generations behind. And this is just not the Baptist church. This is pretty much every church body. They've been discussing millennials for probably 20 years. David Kinnaman, who is the president of Barna Group, created this concept called mosaics, where he says that millennials are like Moses. We made an exodus from the church. And this was before we were finished college, right? He said that every generation you can track that they will come back to church between the ages of 18 and 25 when they have children so that they can christen their children. But he predicted that millennials will be the first generation not to do that. And that is what happened. And so now you have millennials who many of you think are anyone younger than you. I want to help you today. I'm a millennial and I have a 6-year-old. I'll be 40 in about 18 months. Millennials are not young people anymore. Some of us have grandchildren. And so if you're worried about millennials, I hate to break it to you, but you're 3 generations behind. Millennials are born 1981 through 1996, right? And then you have Gen Z. These are people who were born in 1997 through 2012. And then you have my daughter, who's Gen Alpha, who was born after 2013. And so if you are concerned about millennials, I hate to break it to you, but you're 3 generations behind. 3 generations. And so when you start with millennials who are largely unchurched, they're raising kids who don't know what VBS is. And so we have to figure out what the church can do differently. I won't say what the church is doing wrong, what the church can do differently to go back and wrap our arms around 3 generations. What we talked about was the issue is the church today is struggling to bring our concept of divinity to the lived experience of people's humanity. And so again, if you think about millennials who have children who are not in church, who are also having children who are not in church, my daughter's generation is the most liberal generation that's ever faced this earth. She has little boys in her class who have pink nail polish. She gets invited to birthday parties with kids who have 2 mommies. And so if you want to attract millennials, you need to preach a gospel that helps us contend with that. And if you are opposed to discussing people who have pronouns and whatever else, then you are going to get left behind. It's not a question about your theology, but how do you help people grapple with their humanity? And so we suggested that a lot of pastors take some classes on gender identity and how to discuss those issues from a theological standpoint, because these are the lived experiences of the people who have chosen not to come inside your churches. The other piece was the elephant in the room, women in ministry. A lot of millennials are refusing to engage in ministries that do not honor women. And it is to the peril of this body to continue to do that. if you would like to engage the 3 generations you are losing, you're going to have to honor women as equally as you honor men. And it is to your benefit. I want to say something, and if I never sit on this stage, I never sit on this stage. But removing that sermon was not the right move for several reasons. But one of them is monetary. My doctoral work was in digital communications. I teach people about persuasive technology. That is the way that the internet persuades you to stay on the internet. So you see those bubbles when someone is texting you? That's persuasive technology, persuading you to stay connected. The reason why they want you to stay connected is because they sell you advertisement. So if you're talking on the phone about your Brahmin bag and then you see a Brahmin ad on Facebook, that's persuasive technology because they make money by how much we view. So Dr. Gina Stewart's video was at 120,000 views before I went to bed last night. If Facebook paid the Baptist Convention 1 cent per view, that was $12,000. $12,000 that you could be using to fund programs to attract these 3 generations that we are losing. And so I want us to be clear that there are layers that are happening when we eliminate voices that can speak truth to power. And it's not just that we're losing bodies, but we're also losing money.
So I'm going to give you a bit of background to that. So the Baptist Church had, for the first time, had a woman preacher that was at their convention, and it was put on the YouTube. And it was the first, it was groundbreaking for the Baptist Church. And people were upset, and they pulled it down. Well, people in the organisation, because they said that women shouldn't be preaching and so forth. Now, this is Dr. Kia Conway. She's known as the Liver Pope of churches now, because she goes in there, she's like a fixer. And she was invited to the convention, I think another convention from the Baptist Church, and they asked her certain questions about women and so forth. And so basically she's saying, if you're thinking about millennials, you're too late. That's how many generations back. If you're going to deal with millennials, you have to deal with the things they're contending with at the moment, right? And these are things that they're contending, and she gives you examples. She also explains that it's not, when you silence certain voices, you are actually not just losing people, but you're losing money, number one. And there's another aspect that she talks about, which is women being not being visible in organisations like churches is problematic, because you're then also cutting off people from coming into your church, because the new generation are less likely to tolerate it or come to an organisation going to do that. So I wanted to talk to you about that and what your thoughts were, and also speaking to, one of the quotes that I love about what she said was helping people to grapple with their humanity. That really hit me when she said that, rather than anything else. And so I wanted to just find out what your thoughts were in the actual video. So I'm going to start off with you, Anna. What is your thoughts on that video?
I think she needs to go back in the next generation. She needs to start at Gen X, because Gen X is the generations that's having those children and going forth. And a lot of Gen X's that I know, they're not in church. They've left because they don't agree with some of the processes and the protocols that churches have. And because they were brought up scripturally, they don't agree that the churches are following biblical practices. They're following man-made traditions. Because if you follow the Gospels and Jesus, as you're a Christian, he doesn't encounter and treat individuals the way how the churches do. So disfellowshipping people, not accepting people, all different things that they have, which they say, and then they invent rules that they feel that they want to feel comfortable within their space. So I totally agree with her. And as to regards to women into ministry, again, when you look scripturally, it's farcical. There are women that are biblical and doing great things in the word. And then with regards to humanity, the church really does have a lot to work on there, because the church is one of the places that people are hurt the most. There's more people that are not attending churches today because of church hurt than they are because someone has upset them outside.
Right. Asha, what's your thoughts on that?
I think there is so much in that video. I don't know how to
That's why
you probably take the whole show.
That's why I just tried to get this to
I so because you know what my plan was that I've cut it up in such a way, and my plan was just to have a small snippet. But I think because I started with one, I thought I might as well just finish the lot. So you guys got the lot. Normally I'd be spreading it out a bit, but yes.
I'm going to try hard to
we can
just
talk about this.
You did really well, that summary there. I thought you were a millennial looking at you, but you sort of insinuated that you might not be. So
the birth certificate's wrong.
That's it.
Keep telling people.
So I fall into that millennial category. So I can speak to that reality, and I think we are in a weird sandwich position because we are the sort of transitional generation. So we have elements of the generations before and a lot of the traditions and morals and values from before, but we also have the influences and the exposure of the generations that come afterwards. So I think for millennials, I think we tend to have a more rounded or more open to the various viewpoints rather than being polarized and only choose one over the other. Man, there's so much in there that I'm trying to think what to touch on. Okay, so she made mention of women in ministry, and I think it's an issue that not only affects the Baptist Church, but affects our church and all churches. There's been a conversation around that. I feel that God calls people for a right time and a right season and for a particular purpose. And throughout the Bible, you see that both male and female individuals were called at particular times in order to fulfill their purpose that God has for them. And my stance on that is, if God has called you, then I should not be the person to block you from fulfilling your calling. And I have seen instances where people have been discouraged and really broken in their ministries not because of any lack within themselves, not because they have not been effective in their ministry, but simply because they're female. And I don't think that's right or fair. But like I said, I'm the sandwich in the middle, so I think I can approach that. In terms of speaking to individuals' humanity, for many of the generations before us, a lot of the older generations have this blind loyalty. So if you look at, for me, my grandparents and even some of our parents, that they will tell you stories about being at the same company for 50 years. You know, they joined this company when they first came here and they stayed there till they're retired. Despite all of the terrible treatment that they were given, they stayed in this job. Right. You know, they had the same mobile phone provider for the last 50 years because there's a loyalty there. Like when they pick something, they stick with it.
It's like the voting system, isn't it?
Yes.
No matter what that person, that group does, I'm still going to vote for them. Because that's what we do.
Exactly. And I think what we have become slightly complacent in church because we're used to having just blind loyalty. No matter what happens, no matter what we do, no matter how we treat people, they're going to stay because they're loyal. You have a new generation of people where people will start work and in the first week of being in that job, they don't like the feel of that company and they're searching for another one. You know, like when it comes to your car insurance being renewed, your mobile phone contract, it's like, I don't care if I've been with EE all this time. Like, I'm gone. I found a better deal.
I've gone through all providers. Whatever comes fits my thing. It's not about you.
Right.
And I think this is a challenge for us in the church, and that the younger generations are not going to stay simply because of loyalty. And when I speak and sit down with a lot of our teens and young people are looking for relationship. They're looking for authenticity. They're looking for the church. They want the church to be a place of compassion and of love, and they want us to be able to. And I'm not knocking anyone. Let me just put a disclaimer out there. I'm not knocking, not saying it doesn't exist, but to speak on humanity and these issues, the reality is that many of these issues, in terms of sexuality and gender identity, and we look at some of the extremes, but even something as simple things like, I don't know, like substance misuse and mental health. There are so many things that we all experience and we all battle with, and younger generations are not in the business of hiding in a corner and pretending that everything is perfect and coming to a place where we all play church. They want to be an authentic church. They want to be able to discuss these issues, to be able to offload and find some area of support and comfort. And that doesn't mean you condone all the actions, but it's being able to tackle those things head on and not bury our heads in the sand and ignore that. So I agree that there is a lot of work that we have to do to create authentic, safe spaces where people feel that there is not only theoretical knowledge of Christ and the Bible, but there is a practical relationship element where you have an encounter with Jesus Christ and real conversion can take place, rather than us just regurgitated information that someone else told us.
Fantastic, thank you, Marshall. So,
Jude.
Jude. Pastor Jude, what do we do?
Wow.
What do you think?
I was really, really taken back by the power in the statements that the young doctor made, and the relevance of what she said. She gave us a bit of a reality check there, I think, as Generation X's and older folk. So let's start with her issue of the millennials and these three generations. And we still refer to the millennials as, like as though they're still children, they don't know, but they manage budgets bigger than probably our entire organization.
That's right.
They are in positions of authority and they are respected, unlike many of their homes and their churches.
Yes.
So as I listened to my fellow panelists, their comments, I really thought of the prophet Daniel, who says that in the last days, knowledge would increase. And I believe we are seeing an explosion of knowledge, which has given us choice. Information is power. And with those choices, because Asha, I think every generation saw the next generation or the upcoming generation as sort of like rebels, who made them, where they're coming from. But I think you're quite right. This generation, the young kids today, they got so much choice because these little kids, they have screens in front of them. They are exposed to so much information that we weren't exposed to. And that gives them choice, it gives them power. And so like with my kids, who are millennials, all three of them, they've walked. They love me. They respect what I believe. But as you said, they think probably the church is not relevant. We're not authentic. And we're not open-minded. We just don't even want to have the conversations, as Anastasia was saying as well. So I think, the speaker there, she was just spot on. It's like a reality check for the Baptist church when she said that, and many other,
No, she made a reality check for church.
Full stop.
Just because it was.
You just need to put it out there.
That's it. And that's the reason why I brought it out.
Yeah, you just need to just put it out there, because I think there's too many faith-based organizations, whether it's evangelicals, Pentecostals, whatever, they are still living with their heads in the sand from when the church was organized. Like even with the Adventist church, they're like, oh yes, remember we were formed in, dude, that is like how many years ago? I wasn't even a speck then. I'm living now. Do you see what I mean? And my everyday now is, when I was in education, I gave God thanks that I wasn't going to want to be one of the teachers that are going to encounter the children that are going to come in and say, oh, well, I'm a cat and, do whatever. Because in my brain, you're a human being. I'm allergic to cats and I'm not a vet, so I can't work with you. you're going to have to go into another class because I'm not doing that. And it's not because I don't love you, but I'm allergic to cats. So we've got to come to a medium here. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I mean...
So same as in church. There's things that happen in church that we make mountains out of molehills.
Wow.
And when we have issues with abuse and domestic violence and other things that need to, and we're walking at the perpetrator and the victim has to stay silent, unacceptable. So to me, church needs to do a whole 360 because I'll be real. I'm on Sabbath, if I don't go to a church, one of the reasons why I have not been going to church as much, I'm not keen on going into the church building because it's fallacy. To me, it's all fake. You go into church, say Happy Sabbath, the people there have got issues in their yards and everyone, Happy Sabbath, Happy Sabbath. No, I don't feel good today. When you say that, I have said, no, oh, Happy Sabbath, how are you? I said, I don't feel good today. Oh, silence. No one knows how to respond. Not even take me to shall we pray for you? Is everything okay? Do you want to talk about it? No, silence. I said, yeah, that was good for you. That will stop you talking nonsense. Because, at the end of the day, I should be able to come to church and say, do you know what? I've had a rough week this week. Can someone pray with me or do whatever? But I can't do that because, again, if I even do say something, people's going to have my business all over the gaff. That's another thing. There's no safeguarding and there's no GDPR in our churches. So at the end of the day, why would anyone feel safe? Church is not safe.
I mean, sorry, Ashley, you were going to say.
Sorry, I just wanted to jump in there. The only reason I'm jumping in is because I've been having these discussions recently. So and I think that what's happened is for so many years there has been a particular experience when we've come to church, and I'm not denying that these experiences are real and people feel a way of that. However, we also have to give an opportunity for that change to take place. And one of the things I've been trying to encourage my young people is that we need to control our sphere of influence. So I have made it a point to be very intentional. And because this is how my normal interaction goes on. Say you have some, how are you doing? And I say, oh, I'm doing great. And I said, no, that wasn't a pleasantry. I'm genuinely asking, how are you doing? And look you in your face. Yeah. And the amount of people that they break down. Some people break down, start to cry. Some people, they start to trip over their words because a lot of people are not used to you actually caring about how they're doing. But it's just about if a few of us can start to be intentional like that and we normalize actually caring, then other people will start to do that. And that's why I say for a long time we've looked to the organization, like the leadership to somehow enforce this and change. But the reality is like we can wait for years and years for it to change from the top down, or we can try and do something. And this is not me. This is not a dig at you in any way, by the way. Let me just throw that out there. I'm just saying, for generally, because this is what I have been trying to push among my young people, my peers, that if we can be the people to change that, then you start to change the culture, you change the attitude. And I agree, a lot of the young people, that's why they don't feel like it's a lot of people, they echo that sentiment that, it's a fake place, but we can change that. And we also need to be vulnerable as well, because I can sit here and I can ask you all this stuff about how you're doing, and then you flip it back to me and I say I'm wonderful, when really everything is crumbling. I'm not saying you must give all the details, but it's a two-way thing. Like when you look at psychology, one of the ways that you encourage someone else to open up is by opening up yourself. And then it puts that person at ease and makes them feel that they can speak to you. So those are the sort of things that if we start to do it at a grassroots level among ourselves, then slowly we can change the culture of our churches and those spaces. And it's not going to be perfect, but it has to start somewhere.
And I agree with you on that, Asha. I think there's a definite local responsibility that takes place. But I think sometimes, and I'm going to say this to you, I'm going to throw it out there, but one of the reasons why someone like a millennial might leave an organisation, is because there's a culture. So, I'm going to, churches have cultures,
Mm-hmm.
they have
Yeah.
personalities, you know. You might pick a church because it's got a specific personality, and if it's got a culture, it's very difficult for the individual. I'm just throwing it back out here,
Yeah.
to be the one that sticks out and says, you know, let's do things differently. Let's do it this way, because they get a lot of pushback.
Yeah.
You know, for those that are, I will use the word strongholds.
Yeah.
There's families, people that have strongholds in a specific church, and I'm not saying that disrespectful to anyone, but there is that. How would you manage that? How, from your solution, how would you manage that?
I got a way of managing it.
I'm going to come to you.
I got a nice way.
Is this to me?
Yeah,
Is
she
it-
was
okay,
saying
so
it.
all
I
right.
got a nice way to manage it.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
to Pastor Judy after that.
I feel like I'm old enough to say I've been in this church a long time. And
Just in this church, but I mean, just
but
across the
I
board.
say I've had the privilege of traveling to a lot of churches, and what you're saying is true. There are strongholds, there are cultures, and we always get pushback, whether in so many different aspects. I still, and this has been my personal experience, that I still feel that there is a level of influence that comes from consistency and intentionality. And I say because a lot of the things that we've been able to introduce over the years, we were shut down when we tried to do it. Like, so you try to present something and people are afraid of something different. They've never done it this way before, and you get all this backlash. And a lot of the times we had to go sort of into our own pockets and put this thing on ourselves, and we had to demonstrate for ourselves, this is what we wanted to do. We did it independently. Look at how it's worked. And then organization will jump on it and absorb it. And then it's like, this is wonderful. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's straightforward. But I genuinely believe that if you are consistent and you just focus on your area of influence, that you can change that little space. And even if people come into a church, I've seen it, people come into a church that the overall culture of the church might be a particular way, but you have your pocket of safety. You have a few individuals here that in the week, they're actually going to reach out to you, that they can open up their house and they know that when you're hungry, you can come and get some food. Even though the rest of the church might be a particular way, because there are a few in there, people will come, and they might not, and sometimes people might not even feel comfortable to come into the church building in the beginning, but they feel comfortable to come to your house, and you can have that personal time with them. Or even if they just turn up for lunch and you pack a little container and give it to them. It's like, we don't expect results immediately, but it's that consistency, being intentional, that follow through. And over time, this has just been my experience. Not everyone is it, but I have seen it, how people who said they'll never come back into church again, all of a sudden now they're very active in church because they had those groups, those spaces where they did see that authenticity, they did see that love, they did see that community. And slowly we start to replicate that. And that's what I try and replicate that in other churches, other spaces, other areas.
Powerful. Yeah, you've really touched on some core issues there. So at first my mind ran on spirituality. People today experience God different to the traditional ways that we think you should experience God. My generation and the older ones experience God through dynamic preaching. Generations that came subsequently after encountered God probably through music. Some through silence, through art. But if we have this sort of a monolithic way of saying, well, this is how we experience God in a divine service or through the Sabbath school lesson, we've cut a lot of people off. So I think that's a big issue today, experiencing God, spirituality, and we need to be more open-minded in that. But as you spoke, and I listened to my fellow panelists as well, I saw a number of other issues coming into play there. The whole issue of managing change. Because you talk about culture, and culture is who really we are. But just beyond culture, what makes culture are certain values that people hold. And just last year I was saying, Jude, what really makes somebody a Seventh-day Adventist, for instance, what stands or what makes you an Adventist?
Or Baptist or anything
Or
else.
any other faith, yeah. And it's down to core values. It's not necessarily doctrine that identifies who we are. Because as you come to a certain age, our young people, what does my church title really mean? Who am I? What do I stand for? Do I believe in family? Do I respect the environment? Do I care for other races, inclusivity? So I think we have not taught values to the next generation. We held on to culture probably, but culture changes. And I think this is where we got stuck. But on a very positive side of it, following on from the discussion, managing change. I've got a lot of young people in my church. And why? How do we attract them? As a matter of fact, speakers come very often and they say, you got so many young people here. I think it stands or falls on leadership. Why? Because you have ascribed authority. As a leader, you positioned and people should automatically kind of trust you. So you come with a certain amount of credit. And your values are transmitted, as you said, churches have personalities. So if we want to see change, it really has to start with leaders. Yes, we got members there, but the leader, the leader is the leader. He or she, they are the ones to initiate change because they have been entrusted with that role. And I think as I look at our church, I look at my own ministry, 32 years, and I look at what works. You have to build the trust of the generation before you. So if you go into a church and you just want to bring about change, your people say, who is this young upstart? And you're going to just build up polarities and you're going to get resistance. So you've got to get the trust of the seniors. You understand what I'm saying?
So how do you, when you say you have to build the trust of the seniors, how would you build up a trust? Because that in itself is quite a delicate balance. Because trust in that language could be that you do exactly what we say, when we say, and we want it to be done the way it's always been done. That is that is the common language that is used. If I'm right to pull that out there, I have to push it out there. Because
Yeah, you're right.
How do you build trust and still be able to manage that change and transition to where Asher is and he's trying to get people in the house and give people like nice food and
I can tell you what I've done. I can tell you what I've done because talking about the older folk, I've got them in my church.
Right.
95 years. One is 101. And I went to see her 2 weeks ago on her birthday and she remembered, Pastor, me love you, you know. me never forget that 50-pound note you gave me for my birthday when I was 94.
Wow.
101. Yeah. So I got the trust of my seniors. I know that. You have to take time. You got to come close to them. You got to show respect. They are your seniors. What can I learn from you? So I always take the position of a learner. What can I learn from my seniors? And I listen, I ask questions.
You ask questions. So Anna.
That's you just knocked the nail on the head though. You are relational, which is exactly what millennials and everyone else wants.
Right.
You're not authoritarian.
Correct.
And coming from the Gregorian mindset of where church came from. You are being relational. In the 21st century, whether you are even a senior citizen, COVID highlighted that. Where they made the misconception that, no, they wanted to be approached. They wanted you to talk to them. They don't mind you coming in and having a chat. It didn't matter. It was about relationships. And that is what church body is about. For me, sometimes when I'm having my little thing, I'll be like, okay, Lord, in the word, you made them die off. 40 years walking around in the desert. We got to wait for them to die off. Do you know what I mean? Because these seniors, they got issues. And then another thing, I'm with you, Ash. I'm like, no, you be the change. Because change starts with you. So when I go to any church or whatever, I'm not a visitor at the church. People haven't got a clue that I'm a visitor because I'm loving on you. I'm welcoming you. You can come sit next to me, do whatever. Before I used to always have my house open, we'd have lunch. Have you got lunch? Do whatever, come and eat. I would just cook. The Lord is so good. when your heart is in it and it's willing, he will stretch that food.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, oh gosh, how am I going to feed all these people?
Nothing in the cupboard.
Do you know what I mean? The
covered.
Lord, it just starts to happen. And you know, it is relationship. I feel sometimes that the churches today are setting up people for failure due to the fact that they think that once you're, you know, saved, water baptized, Jesus is mine, amen. That's it. You come to church, every time happy. No. Where's the life skills of being a Christian or in that faith? Where are the life skills now of how you spend your money, how you value your body, who you are as an individual, how you encounter society? That's what we need to be
You know,
teaching
Anna,
people.
you've hit something that is a bit of a thing for me. I mean, for me, one of the biggest things is hospitality.
Yeah.
I have a real thing about hospitality, but I didn't actually know it was hospitality because it's just in my nature. And I have a thing where when people come around to my house, our house, even when I was younger and I had my thing going, if you came to my house, I'd always cook for you. Now, you could call me and be like, oh, Sim, I'm around the corner, I'm just coming to see you. And I won't say nothing to you, but when you get to my house, I would have something for you to eat. Because for me, I don't know where you're coming from, whether you've eaten or anything. And I don't ask no questions. I don't want you to feel like you have to be, you know, to feel uncomfortable. And I did that for so many years. And then one day, late at night, our house, one of our friends came and knocked on our door quite late, around about 8 o'clock at night. And it was unusual, but well, is that early?
Yeah, early. Anyway.
Millennial early.
Okay, I was just going to say, sorry. Okay.
We digress. We go back to us. So maybe it was 9. But anyway, so anyway, right. Yes, I know. Anyway, so came and knocked the door. But when I say that, it was unusual.
Right.
So came to the house, and then I would just get food, and I would like feed, dessert, the whole shebang. And like 11 o'clock at night, still talking. But I just thought that's a bit strange because it's not like this person. And eventually, he just said, I'm homeless. And I came to you because I know that you always, if I go to Sim's house, she's going to give me food. No matter what, no questions asked, and give me drink, everything. That's just how it is. And so, and I was hungry. And you came into my mind because I knew that no matter what, you're going to, without me even having to ask. And for me, that's what I think Christianity is really about.
Yep.
That is lifestyle. That's somebody that knows that they can count on you no matter what. And he'd been going to like homeless shelters and stuff and getting fed by those, people that come around and give food. And he says that I said, how has it been? What's the journey like? Because I like to almost like ask questions. I want to understand how things have been. And I was like, why didn't you tell me this before and so forth? And he said, I have been homeless and for a while. And the people that came around to give food, like the Christians will come around and give food, but they'll give like expired food and food that doesn't taste right. But the Muslims will cook big time rice and chicken and like with real food. And he says, from that perspective, I could convert to Islam. And for me, it was interesting to hear that because that's somebody that's actually out there and experienced. And that's what I mean. I mean, when you say that, Asha, I think these are things that we really need to think out as a faith community. That what is it that we're actually saying? Like, why do you think that's okay to give expired food?
Don't let me start that with my Muslim friends.
Can I just add to that as well, and to link it to the video we watched about even the younger ones, I can't remember what they say, Generation Alpha.
Yeah.
They are watching your actions. Yep. They're watching how you interact with other people. They watch how you're feeling. I grew up in a house that was always open. I grew up in a house where everybody, even if you're uninvited, would just turn up and eat. Where us as grandchildren, I could take hardo bread and just wipe gravy from the pot because there's no food left. But now I look at my siblings and my cousins and you realize that we've all got this same thing of trying to reach out to others, our houses being open, trying to show that love and compassion. And that's why Christianity is quite an active thing. It's not just us sitting down studying a lot. And I'm not saying, and please, we should study.
Yeah.
We should study. It's not saying, but that shouldn't be the only thing that we do. Our churches should not be locked up or exclusive social clubs. That we should have a spirit of love and compassion and hospitality, and the generations below are watching us. Our children are watching those things, and they're learning those values and those principles.
And they're learning how to cook and do
But
those
that's
type
a
of practical
cultural
things
thing.
as well. Sorry, because there is like an aspect where now, you know, you've got a new generation that don't know how to self-care in terms of hygiene, cooking, you know, things like that. And it's to me, it's because they're not getting it from the generation to watch and see this is how you do things, and that's how I think they learn. Because for me, I came from, like you said, I came from a generation where, like, if you go to my mum's house, you are gonna eat. She'd be like, no. She'd be like, no. Here's a plastic thing. Here's some food. Take it with you. Like, it's for me, it's normal for you to come to my house and I'm gonna feed you. I'm gonna, even if you say I'm not hungry, and you say, I'll be like, you know what, I packed you something. I won't even say, and I'll put in a little bag and I'll be like, go and take it, because that's how but I learned that from my grandma, I learned that from my mum, and it's something that is part of our family. In fact, it's disrespectful. Now, like you said, maybe it's also a cultural thing.
It's a cultural
because I'm a Ghanaian, and culturally, you know, I'm going to be really honest. When I came into the church, it was really odd about this thing called potluck. I didn't understand it. What do you mean potluck? I cook food in my house, and I bring the food to your house, or bring it, then we can all, like, in my culture, if you come to my house, the food is
cooked. Everything's there. It's ready.
You take stuff with you.
Yeah.
You bring your food. It's like it was very.
Yeah, it's a Western concept.
Really?
It's a Western concept.
Because it was a top, because I came into Christianity. My mum was a PK, but she ran. You know, she ran far, and then I became a Christian at university. So she was like, "What's happened? Why are you going to church?" You know, that kind of like, "What's happened? I've run away, and my child is who spoke?" You know, and I had to bring her to church. My grandma was like one of the top speakers and in Pentecostal churches. So my family but my mum was not interested. She did the sort of what we're talking about now, where she went away and she was not interested. She had still the values and, you know, hospitality, because I was brought up with that. But when I became a Christian, it was like when I came into this environment and people say potluck, and I didn't understand it. And it was very odd. It was very strange. And if I was to bring my friends that were African culture, it would be very odd for them, because you're like, why am I cooking? Why don't I just cook in my house and eat in my house? Why am I bringing that pot and I'm bringing it somewhere else? So it was a very don't get me wrong, there is something
That's
about
fellowship.
there is a fellowship with it,
fellowship.
but from a hospitality point of view, it's the equivalent of Abraham when the angels came round and Abraham did the whole. That's how our culture is. Come get the best goat and kill it and cook up everything. That's how. None of this. Let me go and bring. Where's your thing that you brought to my house and we can all eat together? Let's break. You
know what? Let's not. You know what it is? Apart from the fact that it's a cultural thing, one of the things that I observed here in the UK is that it's because, especially in the UK, the potluck concept comes from because many of the churches are commuter churches. Many of the individuals that were going to the churches here in the UK didn't live near those churches. So it was too far for them to go back home to eat. So they would bring the food to church, but then everyone would just spend the day and then they would share. So that's where it came from. That commuter church, people coming from, because first of all, the churches weren't as many. There's much more churches, especially in our denomination now. But at the beginning, there were specific churches around London and around the area. So people commuted to those churches. So that's why they brought the food. And you'd actually see in some of the churches, families big families that would, because I remember I used to just go to church and I was having to get the food. That was it. Because I wasn't in church, I just used to go to church. I just knew I could see my family. I would go, and I felt that what's Auntie cook? Yeah, I'm down, I'm here today. And we would all come and eat. Look, I'm not right. I'm you know, I'm keeping it real.
No, but
I for the food.
No, but Anna, the thing is, I understand that, but in the culture that
Yeah,
I come
of
from,
course.
you just go to Auntie's house,
Which is what we did outside.
So if you come,
Yeah.
if I rocked up at my aunt's house, you're getting jollof rice.
Yeah.
That's the standard. You're getting that chicken. You don't even have to have that conversation. It's
on the house.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's
there is
in the
no
house.
there is
But
no
remember,
discussion.
you can't eat out. Don't forget that. Remember, there's that other thing. When you're growing up, you can't eat out. Your belly could be griping, but you better you don't bring shame to the family, you know. You go to the people's house and you stay there and you
Quiet,
smile
yeah.
and you keep quiet. But if the family's known, then you eat there.
You see-
But everybody else, when they came to your house, had to eat. It's very one-sided, you know. People must come to your house and eat, but when you go out, you mustn't eat.
You see,
right?
there's a culture.
But there's a
thing.
cultural thing. So, but when you come to the West, and I definitely see where some of our cultures then become diluted. And that's also what I've observed from the spirituality. You know, I always try to explain to my mum, I don't know about you, but I came from the drum. You see this you know, oh, that's not me. I'm not into Gregorian chant, yeah? I learn about it because I do art and history, but that is not me. I'm a drum person. I hear the bass, you hear the treble. So don't do me when I am listening to my music that's not gospel. That's not whatever. I said, no, that's not your gospel. But you see, when I hear that, I can hear one of my tracks and I will be crying because I feel the Spirit and I'm hearing the Holy Spirit. You see what I mean? So it's the differences in how we perceive Jesus and our spirituality. But what I love about the Father is that he has come across centuries, not just generations, centuries, where he's still meeting us today with our thought processes, knowing that, you know, look at that. COVID, everyone was in church, we had COVID, people had to get online. You know, I remember people saying, oh, how are the senior citizens going to cope? Trust me, I've seen senior citizens know more about Zoom and whatever than anyone else because they adapted. So, and you know, the Father gives them this capability to do so. So we mustn't put the Father in a box.
No.
Do you see what I'm saying? And that's the reason why I think humanity is so key, because Jesus met the needs of the people. That's right. Before he even came to them and said, follow me. It's because of he met their needs. He was kind, he was sociable, he never discriminated. You know, that is the reason why then they were like, this dude, he's got, I need to follow him. And if we as a people could be kinder, you know, could be more caring, could be more genuine,
and
be considerate of other people's feelings. You know, sometimes you know, those old things, manners maketh the people. I won't say the man, which is the old saying. You know, being more considerate of others, you know, thinking before you speak is such a key factor. And another thing we don't learn about in church, emotional intelligence. There are too many sensitive Christians.
So just to go on that very interesting subject, I just wanted to reference your previous comments, if it's okay.
Yeah, fine.
One of my favorite authors, Mrs. G.G. White, she says, if we were more kind, and I'm quoting, if we were more kind, tender-hearted and pitiful, where there is now one conversion to the truth, there would be 100.
Wow.
And you spoke about compassion. That's what made Jesus stand out. One of the things, he was so compassionate. He had time for everyone. Compassion. He felt from the inside what people were feeling on the outside.
Yes.
And for me, you know, we talk about church and religion and so on. I have come to the conclusion, I've been trying to distill what this thing is all about, faith and religion. And the Old Testament and the New, they are quite correct. What is true religion? It is not what we profess or confess, but it's how we treat people. And that's what, to me, when I look at Jesus now through his lenses, he had so many issues with people who had religion defined into doctrines and fundamentals. And Jesus always broke it down. I mean, the Pharisees and the scribes, they had so many rules and commandments. Jesus says, look, 2 commandments. Love God, love your neighbor. And then he said one.
Love.
And so for me, if you have compassion, and I have gone through my own metamorphosis, searching to find God on a deeper level. What is it all about? As I see people leaving faith, and I see what people of faith do to other people, something was wrong. And I realized, as you said, they're not really connected to the source, who is Jesus himself. They adhere to some beliefs and some doctrines and so, but they don't know the man Jesus. Because when you know Jesus, Jesus changes you. You know, he was so full of love for people, so full of forgiveness. So the things that trip us up, like enmity and rejection and you know, people talking about your business. And if you look at Jesus, literally, you have a completely different perspective on your life and on people's lives. You have to learn to forgive. Look how he treated Judas and Peter. Expectations. So how I treat my kids. All my kids are grown up now. The last is 32. They don't go to church. But guess what? If I call them to pray with them, or if I said, like I said a couple of weeks ago, kids, could you all, Daddy wants you all to come to church with him. And they all came.
Wow.
Because I've shown them respect, and they had to make their choices. Now, in my father's day, they would not have had the choices they had. Right? So again, my kids have taught me how to live in this real world.
That's right.
Thanks to them. So that's what made me relevant.
That's right.
You know, and there's that respect. And even last night we had our family monthly Zoom meeting. And my son, who, he came and he was leading out with me.
Wow.
And everybody was so pleased because it's about relationships, as you
about
said.
relationships.
You know, it's how you treat people. How we see people is how we treat people.
100%.
And so, you know, you talked about, as in the video, with community and humanity. How do we deal with the issues of LGBT plus and you know, transgender and so on? You know, I had to go through my own metamorphosis. How would Jesus see these people? I mean, as a matter of fact, let me ask Pastor Asha. And she's a theologian. Anna is a theologian. So if I'm permitted to ask a question to the panel, and this is being very provocative. You know, again, I look at Jesus. If you're in doubt with anything, just find out what Jesus did or what he would do.
But the things I have to throw out there, Pastor Jude, if Jesus was all these things, they talk about love and everything, but you know, he was whipping people in the temple when they were misbehaving and stuff. So there is an aspect of Jesus that doesn't tolerate.
You know who he'll whip today?
Who'd whip today?
You really want to get real?
The leadership, the church leadership.
He will whip the same categories of people that he whipped back then.
Yeah.
The people who hold on to tradition
Yeah.
and nothing to do with him. So the lady spoke about embracing humanity. She talked about women in ministry. Hello? Yes, Jesus would pull out the whip today because on that issue, I didn't comment on it. Genesis, which we believe the Christian church, we have incorrectly interpreted scripture, which has led to the submission and subordination of women. The Bible says in Genesis, in the very first 3 chapters, God set out everything to do with the environment, with ecology, to do with human sexuality. It's all there in the first 3 chapters of Genesis. The things that the world is concerned about today, going green, it's all there. God made us as stewards of the earth. And he said, work 6 days, rest 1. He showed us how, in the animal kingdom, how things should operate and everything. Human relationships, he set out the principles. And here it is. So this lady in the video for the Baptist church, something great is about to happen in our world. The world is pushing for equality. 2030, United Nations has set that year for equality amongst the genders. And they were referring then specifically to male and female sexes, okay? But watch this. As you said, this new generation, those little kids, 5 and 6 years old, they're being taught about having 2 daddies and 2 mommies. We don't even want to have the conversation as leaders in the church. We don't want to deal with that reality, but that's the reality of my granddaughter is facing. But in the church, 70 years old, we can't even talk about gays and lesbians or trans. Don't even mention it.
No, we can't talk about sex.
So says there's such a big Thank you.
Let's not go
And
that
again,
far.
it's, and
We
again,
can't
it's,
even talk
and
about.
it's, and it's
we can't
right
even talk
there.
about copulation.
Exactly.
Which is the normal way.
Exactly.
Much less anything
Exactly.
else. I'm sorry. I'm the one. Don't call me if you want me to. Do you know what I mean?
You're spot on. But again, right in the first 3 chapters of Genesis, and I found that so interesting, that on this issue of on this issue she mentioned there about women in ministry,
Yes.
which has been, put it this way, a thorn in the flesh for millennia, for thousands of years. This is an old age debate, but it's going to come to an end shortly. We are going to tear down the walls of misogyny and patriarchy and male privilege. It's going to come down because it's not good for society. And I tell you why it's going to come down, for 2 reasons. It's God's will. In the beginning, the Bible says God made male and female in his image and likeness. The image of God, I didn't understand it until 2 years ago. I've been praying, God, what is it? What is your image and likeness? The image of God consists of love, oneness, equality, and humility. That's it. That's the image of God. So God made male and female in his image. In the Godhead, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, there's no hierarchy. They 3 are one. If we were made male and female and male in the image of God, we were made to love, to be one, and to be equal as in the Father's image. So there's no issue of hierarchy in the Godhead, and there should be no issue of the hierarchy in the image of the Godhead. End of story.
I can help you with that. In the Bible, where it says when Jesus was born, his parents took him to the temple, and both prophets, a prophetess Anna and the man, I forgot his name, they were promised that they would see the Son, the Messiah, the Christ, before their eyes closed. There was both, one male, one female, were both promised that they would see Jesus before their eyes closed. And she was the older one. She was like, what, I think 84 or something. I can't remember the age now. So it shows you equality. When Jesus came, he came and they were waiting for him. It wasn't just the male waiting for him. It was both. So it means he's come for all. There's no digress. And I know that one of the questions I've asked, since we've talked on the topic, I've asked and there's still crickets. When Elder John now feels that he has found himself and he comes back to church next week as Elder Jean, what is the church going to do to address it?
Well, thanks for your question.
You should see Ashley.
You see,
Ashley's face is like, don't ask me.
I mean, I'm just putting, you don't even have to answer. But I'm just saying, if I love you, okay, I have to be real with you. I'm not going to love you any different, okay? I changed my hair color. You're going to love me any different because my hair color has changed? Do you see what I'm saying? I can't love you any different. But my thing is, I didn't create you. The creator, your father, created you. He can take up all of that. My command is to love you. But what is the stance? If I still love on you and you still feel that no matter who you are, I am unconditional, there will be such a different place in our churches.
Right. What is your thoughts on that question? If Elder John becomes Elder Jean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I think I would want to entertain that question, and I would love to discuss that question, but I feel it would be an injustice to women for me to begin discussing trans women, because I feel women who were birth women, they have been deprived their rights, and now someone who has assumed the female identity is actually almost protected more in law or in the church, because the eyes of the law, we have the 9 protective characteristics in this country, 2010 Equality Act. It protects the transgender.
Yeah.
So I am, God bless the transgenders, but I'm really upset with the church that now this has taken over and birth women, they're being pushed to the background. We're still fighting about equality. Should a woman preach or should she be ordained? And now they got 73 different genders. So on a point of principle, I refuse to discuss the Brother John becoming an elder in the church as a female. I want us to discuss the woman in the church that we have ignored for all these years, when biblically, Jesus, if you look at his ministry, he actually came to elevate women because they were made in his image. And he saw what society did to women. As a matter of fact, the Hebrew word for helpmeet, for Adam's mate, is Ezer, E-Z-E-R. And when God gave Adam a helpmeet, I always grew up with the understanding that the helpmeet was like an appendage, and somebody just to help him out if he's struggling, somebody to help him carry the load. And that's the sort of a connotation for a helpmeet.
I've heard a lot of sermons on that, actually.
Yeah.
On the side.
And in actual fact, what opened my eyes was the Hebrew word there for helpmeet. It's only used of God, who is our helper. Hello. So watch this. If your car ran off the road, you don't go and get a car with less horsepower to pull your car back. You get a wrecker, something stronger. So God saw that Adam was lonely. He needed help. And so God didn't give Adam someone inferior to him to help him out. The Hebrew word says God gave him someone who was equal to, and it was even suggest stronger than.
Wow.
So Ellen White, in her writings as a boy, she actually says God took a rib from the side of Adam so that he didn't take the flesh from his feet so that he will trample her, nor from his head that she will rule him, but from his side so that they might be equals. And I heard that as a boy. And when I saw the Hebrew word, and I remembered Ellen White said that from since I was a child, I thought, wow, she was spot on with the interpretation. Where did she get that from? And when I did some further research, it means face to face, they stand as equals. That's what the Hebrew word means. So God gave Adam somebody who will stand face to face, eye to eye with him, equal to or even stronger to help him out in times of need. Wow. And so just from that one text alone, the whole Christian church's interpretation of women being
subservient,
and then they take St. Paul's arguments that a woman shouldn't keep silent. But the church is not consistent with that because women speak. There were women prophetesses in the Bible, 11 of them. Should a woman shouldn't exercise authority? Who had greater authority than a prophet? They will go and say to the king, thus saith the Lord, and that's it. So the church is saying on one hand, St. Paul said a woman shouldn't speak or exercise authority, but the church doesn't practice it anyhow. And the church doesn't believe that.
Wow. So, I mean, this is something that is across the board. I mean, you said the church is across the board. So
the Christian church.
The Christian church, because the Baptist church, the lady that you saw, Dr. Kia Conway, she actually said that, the video that was put up, so the lady before that did the sermon, the video was taken down, and everybody in the Baptist church was saying that they don't know how that came down, how that video came down. She's a doctor of technology and stuff. So anyway, I digress. Right. So she said, and she explained, she breaks it. So if you was to see the rest of it, she breaks it down that you can't take it down unless somebody internally took it down. So that was a bit of a Anyway, but there's a bigger picture, like you said. There's something is happening, something is going on, and I think that, like you said, if you want to connect yourself with Generation X, Millennials, Generation Alpha, they are dealing and contending with things that they need support in and guidance. And if you can't connect to them on those things, then of course it's going to be problematic. But on that note, I'm going to go to the next subject matter because I think we've spent quite a bit of time on this. So I'm going to go with you, Asha. What's your subject matter?
I think it's so light-hearted compared to everything else.
Wow.
I feel like I might need to change it.
Not at all.
No, I just came across a story. I came across a story about a couple in the United States, and the boyfriend and girlfriend. The girlfriend goes out for lunch after work, and boyfriend thinks he's doing something nice, sends her $15 for lunch.
I saw that.
Fortunately, the $15 she didn't feel was sufficient for lunch, so she sent it back to him. Now, in itself, in itself, we can unpack that. But I thought what was even more interesting was a lot of the comments that came. So it went viral, and then all of these women around the world started attacking this man for how dare he send such a low amount. What can $15 buy? And I just became a bit curious as to why is this okay, and what does that say to the attitudes and the spirit and the character of our women now? Where have all the nice ladies gone?
Well, my thing is I have an issue with it because it's the thought and it's the fact that the action, because she didn't ask for it. It was the fact that he went out of his way and he did that. And I have a real issue because I feel like there's a new generation of people, or there is not necessarily a new generation, but there's a generation of women that have this entitlement mindset. And I have an issue with that because you shouldn't have an entitlement. No one owes you anything. It's a boyfriend, it's not your husband. You don't know his budget, you don't know what's going on. That $15 could be something quite major for him in his account. But I've always been, I feel like I speak like this and a lot of women will be like, oh no, but seriously, we need to really think about our attitudes and the way that we're sort of demonstrating that conduct. Is that what you said, Asha, earlier on? There is a conduct that is being pushed out to the next generation that is allowing the next generation to think that it's okay to behave in this way. It was totally disrespectful, people's comments that I saw. I did not appreciate it, and I think that was so disrespectful. And the fact that that woman, and I'm going to be blunt, the fact that that woman did that, she's not, for me, he should just lock it off. Let it go. She's not the person that you should be rolling with, because if she can't respect that consideration and that support, what about just topping it up? You know, he's giving you $15, add another 15, go and have something to eat. When was the last time you did something for him like that? No, let's just put it out there.
Why are you eating more than £20 at lunch anyway? That's my thing.
What are you eating? No, but the thing is, it just feels like there's an entitlement, and I think that there needs to be something needs to be done about it, where women are now getting taught about certain, like, just lifestyle skills. Like I mentioned earlier on, how to cook, how to clean, how to have, respect and consideration for the other person. It's not just about the man in your life, but even your friendships. And I think this is not just affecting, a lot of people think, oh, this is just boyfriend and girlfriend. But this sort of behaviour spews into your relationships across the board, your friendships, how you relate to your female friends. If you can't connect to somebody, whether it be the opposites or not, it's across the board. If you haven't got hospitality, it affects hospitality across the board. When your friends come around, you're like, oh no, are you bringing your own cup of water? I mean, things like that. Are you EasyJet kind of friend? Do you know what I'm saying? Where you have to bring your own. Are you EasyJet? What are you? No, don't get me all
It took a second. Didn't it?
That's it.
No, Ryanair.
Emirates.
What are you? Are you an EasyJet girlfriend? Are you an EasyJet friend? If you're late, we ain't waiting. That kind of mindset. Do you know what I'm saying? That kind of mindset.
Teach punctuality.
Do you get what I'm saying? There is this sort of thing, and I think that is going across the board. And I think we are losing something quite fundamental, because I can't, in all honesty, this thing that's going on, I couldn't bring certain people to my family's house because you wouldn't understand how to behave around my mum and dad. You wouldn't understand if I took you to Ghana and you had to rock with my family, you couldn't rock with them because you wouldn't understand how to behave. And I think it's these type of things. So that's my
Well, I'm going to add to your internet thing. The next one was this other young lady saying that, forget the fact that the man gave little money. She can't roll with certain women, if they're ugly, because they are jealous of her. So the issue that we're having in society, I just put that one, and the comments to that, were the women that said to her, what type of woman are you? And then the men were like, yeah, you're cute, so I can see the problem. It was very entertaining because I only go to them things for the comments. I'm going to tell you, I'm a comment troller. I'm going to keep it real. I just like to read the comments. That's the highlight of my afternoon, right? I'll give you 30 minutes. Yep, that's it. And I'm good. But the reality is social media is damaging society. That's the be all and end all. Social media and reality TV. I've gone to people's homes, went to my nieces, whatever. They introduced me to, is it Housewives of Dubai? I said, what drivel? Then you from Atlanta Housewives, the whole of the Housewives chain, ban it. Then you've got, other reality TV, whatever. And the expectations of individuals, instead of the kindness and the consideration of individuals, is being omitted. Even some women who let's put it in a tax bracket. They're in a 30K tax bracket, but they want someone in a 70K tax bracket. How are you equal?
The thing is,
it doesn't make sense to me. If you're 70K, you can look for someone 70K then. I'm not saying you can't have opposites, but you need to know what you are bringing to the table. This man offered you $15 for your lunch. You're eating up to 20. I'm cool with you. I think you're craving. Yeah? You don't. It's lunch. You ain't got time to eat no Hollywood food.
Half an hour.
Half an hour.
Where'd you get the time?
Right, so we get the time to eat more than that.
I don't chew
But
it.
then, anyway, at the end of the day, he didn't have to.
Exactly.
There's no compulsion or anything like that. He kindly you know what? My girlfriend's going out to lunch. Let me send you something. What I always say to people is, what did you have before? 0. 15 is an increase. And I cannot stand that nasty attitude from women and even men as well. But the women today are becoming like pariahs. That's how I started seeing them. They're just very nasty. They complain and they always say, oh, they're narcissists. You're recognizing yourself. Because at the end of the day, your behavior, to me, is shameful.
The thing is, the fact that you don't have any sort of like shame to be putting this online.
Yeah, why are you putting that out?
Why are you putting that out? Because
for social media.
But the thing is, I think social media, I have to...
No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
No, I would say to you that with social media, it's a tool.
Yeah.
And I think you can use it for good and you can use it for bad. It's like a hammer. My thing is that I have a real... Like, I remember when I got married and like I was in church one time and a younger girl came to me. And then she was talking to me and she was like, she asked me about something. And we're talking about something. I said, I've just made some fufu and soup. And she nearly fell off her chair because she goes, oh my goodness, Cynthia, the way you dress and the way you, and do you cook like, food and fufu? Like you go, and I'm like, well, what do you think? How do you think that he eats or I eat and it was all, and I think and that was a generation behind me. And I think there's another generation and they've lost that where it's okay to have, just simple things and just be like giving $15. To me, I'd be so appreciative. I'd be like, babes, thank you. Yeah. In fact, I'll be there. I'll use the social media to show you, guess what I got? Look. It's
the thought that counts.
It's the mindset, but do you know
but
what?
We're not using that anymore.
But I think there's a brat system, and I think that it's because the other generation. I'm going to be honest. I think they've actually ruined the next generation. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing because they're not going to be able to learn it from anybody else. And this is where I think that as a church community, we are supposed to come in. We're supposed to be able to support. That is why the scripture says the older women help the younger women. I think that's where that comes in, is that we're not out there trying to show that actually there's nothing in this life for free. You have to work. Marriage, children, having a relationship with another human being requires you to work.
But society doesn't show that though. Remember, we are now a microwave instant society. So even if you get married, this ain't working out. Okay, we're getting divorced. Next. There's serial marriages. That's what I call them. How can you tell me you've been married 3-4 times? I'm like, something wrong with you. You are the common denominator. There's something wrong with you. Why are you getting married 3-4 times? Isn't marriage for life? Oh, he got on my nerve. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So it's just sadly, society. But again, our parents before have also not helped. I remember going to school and hearing a lot of people's parents and their grandparents saying, I'm not growing you to put up with the nonsense that I put up with, you know, as a woman. You know, how you see your grandmother, your aunties living. We're not living like that. You mustn't be like that. So then also they educate them. You have a high volume of educated women, but they're very single. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm just putting that out there. Do you know what I mean? So you're very educated.
And you know what it is?
They are very single.
And you know what? You're buying that big house that you're living in, but that
lonely,
house is not
by yourself.
By yourself, and you and your cat or your dog are going to be in that house, and then let's just be. I'm going to be honest because you know what it is. It's exactly what I
Being
said to you.
Mary Jane as another reality TV show highlights that. Being Mary Jane.
I want
There you go.
Yeah, I just want to. I don't want to lose these juicy bits that you're putting up in there. But I didn't get to see that video clip that you spoke of, Asha. So probably I'll be making certain assumptions. But two things came to my mind. One is what you said, since I don't want to give away my age now, but the only thing I'm still trying to work out with this generation is that every single thing they do is on Facebook, or on social media. Everything. Well, you know,
You did your generation because you used
I
Facebook.
got
It's TikTok now.
So I wasn't calling all, but it was the phenomena of just putting all your business out there. Just keep quiet. That's your personal business, you know. But But I wondered. To me, I asked the question: how long was that relationship going for, and how deep was it? Because an important element of discussion in any relationship should be finances. So if they had discussed their finances, she should have known what financial position he was in, and vice versa. And so why are you going to put up something there if you all had a conversation about our budget for this month, for instance, so what we're going to be spending on food, blah, blah, blah. If you had those healthy conversations, I can't see you just putting out, whether it's male or female, you're putting your partner's business and to bring the person down publicly on that. Because your finances are your personal thing.
But could I interject? When would you not only have those financial conversations when you're looking to be married? Because if I'm dating you, what you need to know what my budget is for. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not saying that we're not going to say, oh, I work here. No. When I say that, I'm not saying that, oh, we're not going to know, like, oh, where I work is this or do whatever. Of course you would. But, you know, when you're dating, this is my concept of dating, what I was taught. Dating, and this is what hurts a lot of women's feelings. When we're dating, unless you and that individual says that you're exclusive, that person can date Sue, Mary, and Jane. And people, I said, yes, because that's dating. Yeah? Until you then say to each other, we want to be exclusive and only deal with each other, that's when you have that different conversation.
Well, I never dated like that. I'm sorry.
No. But I'm just saying, when you look in the dictionary at the word dating, that's what it is.
I don't want no woman who dates like that.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, but then the difference is you would make that clear from the beginning. That's why I said to you, you would say, no, I only date exclusively. Do you see what I'm saying? But someone can date other people.
Sure.
Do you see what I mean? So this is one of the issues. So for me personally, I'm not saying we can't talk about finances because I'm into economics. So that's something we will talk about if we're together. We're talking about money. That's something I talk about. But I'm just saying in general, I'm not going to be interested in your wage packet or your financial portfolio, because that's something where in my eye, you could even come with a negative, but if I'm serious about you, we're going to be working on making that a positive and an increase. So that's what I'm saying. It's the mindset of the individuals.
It is.
So that's the reason why for me, she's just shallow, and if I'm telling you out there, next, you don't want to be with her.
No. The thing is, and I have to say to you that I agree with you. I do think that, because for me, I think the generation. That generation don't understand about actually committing and working together. And don't get me wrong, there is going to be, and I'm going to be really honest, there is a point where, so my area of expertise is HR. So I got to I got to a high level of that industry. Now, the thing about it is that when you are with somebody and you care about that person and you really you want the best for them. And there is going to be a point of time as a woman, even as high as I got, when you have children, you are going to slow down because there is different things that's going on. You want to make sure that your child has, you know, that support when they come home. You know, I'm doing like homework. There is a partnership, but I take a lot of the bulk of that because he's also doing things. And I don't have a problem with that because I want him to succeed. And he can't be all things to all men, you know, and I respect that. That's just how it is. It's not because he's out there and he's working and he's doing all these things that he's less of a person to me, or he doesn't care about me or the family or whatever it is. That doesn't stop that. There's a season in everybody's life and everyone goes through it. You know, he can travel around the world and I will still hold it down because, you know, a lot of people don't understand about what it means to be a wife and a woman. You know, when you see that film Spartan, they were not women that were like, they were out here.
I love that movie.
They were out here. In fact, the men were even more weary of the women because they'll bring up their children because they will take them to experience them so they can be stronger. And I think women a lot of the generation don't understand that there is a place and a time for everything and a season for everything. And there are going to be times I'm not going to be in the position where I can be the HR director that I was because I've got to take a step back. It doesn't make me less of a person because I'm not doing that, right? And just because you earn maybe more than your husband or more, it doesn't make you more able. But I think it might be also to do with a cultural thing because in my culture, we don't have those kind of, I don't know how to explain, those kind of lines in that way. You need a woman that's very highly accomplished and she'd be married and there's still certain things because that's just how we are. But there's a season. I mean, Asha, sorry, I'll let you talk about it. I'm really passionate about this.
No, I agree. It's so nice to hear it from this perspective because I had this conversation with a different generation of and the responses are slightly different. But I think I agree with you. And that's why, and I stand by this point that I think the millennials, I think, are the hardest because it's that transition and people are at different levels of the spectrum of those values and morals, and just something as simple as appreciation is far less common now. And I do feel like social media and other things have a part to play. The people we associate with, the conversations that we're having, there is a certain unhealthy expectation that's attached to relationships. Like relationships are they're highly transactional now. They're like business deals, essentially. And what I think a lot of women don't appreciate is the impact that has on men subconsciously, because guys will not speak about it openly. I know a lot of guys, and I can say I've been in that position as well, where there's a lot of guys that I'll give an example. So when I was doing my flight training, my fees were 100 grand. There was no support for that. There was no student loan or financial help. I had to self-fund that. I don't come from a rich family. At that point in my life, I was struggling. Like, when you talk about, people coming around, I had nothing in my cupboards. You don't eat for the whole week. But then the youth coming around on Sabbath, I'm making food for everybody. But at that point in my life, I found someone that would have been perfect. Like in terms of, in all aspects, that's such a rounded individual. But because of a lot of these interactions and understanding how so many women think of my generation, I then blocked this from going any further. Why? Because I looked at where I was in that time and said, I am not in a position where I can be all the things that I want to be and I can provide the way I want to provide. And you almost feel like, although I know my worth, I know my value, I know what I bring, I don't think that they're going to be able to see and appreciate those things because I'm not where I should be. That doesn't mean that I am any less than anyone else. And if I'd wait, say for example, if I'd met them like 2 years later, I would have been in a very different position and would have felt differently. And it was years down the line where, you had the conversation and, they turned around and was like, I was explaining this, we were talking about this. And she was like, well,
It didn't
matter. Like at that point in time, I didn't actually care because the way I felt was based on you. It wasn't based on anything that you had. But because we have been so wired, we experience this sort of attitude and this sort of judgment and this so much weight being given to material things. Even when you do find that rare person that will love you for you and accept you for you, you will stand in the way of that. Because you have come to a place where you don't believe that those core values and things that you have within yourself is good enough.
But
wow.
That's deep, but I can recognize that in the sense that because again society shifted, and I know some women were going to slap me and hate me, but feminism has not helped. So because of the women now being empowering themselves and stepping forward and coming forth, and women are becoming higher income earners in some instances. I will always say to women, because I like to mess with their heads. I say to them, so, you're in this top position, that's great. She goes, yes, so I need somebody. I said, yeah, but when your toilet's blocked, who do you call? A plumber. I said, yeah. So the plumber's making money constantly because your toilet needs fixing. And that person and that person. What you're doing is you're looking at the man from his profession. Yeah. That's not the man. You need to look at the man for his character,
100%.
which is the same reason the man should look at you. But what I would desire is because men were always brought through, through tradition, that we don't speak because I'm a man. And these things are not to affect me. And yeah, I might talk to one or two of my boys, but otherwise, I'm not going to put out there that I'm feeling a certain way, because men are not meant to have feelings. So that is incorrect.
So that's why I think, host, we should have a moment of silence because a man spoke out. We should refer this
but
moment.
more men need to speak, and more men need to feel free, and more women need to not be so disgustingly behaving, because they're nasty when they speak. When a man speaks his truth, women get upset. I just don't understand that.
It's true, but I think there's something to be done with the women as well, because one of the things that a lot of like the other generation, they would come to me and they would talk to me about certain things, and they would say to me, oh, Cynthia, what made you want to be with your husband? What was the thing? And I said, my biggest thing that I have, I'm all about kindness. I'm about kindness. That is almost like I see it in colour. I can't explain it to you.
I can understand.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
I see that it's like a thing for me. My husband is like so kind. Like he is so kind to sometimes his own detriment. Do you know what I'm saying? That I've got to step in and say, no, we got to calm down now. I know I like it, but we need to calm down out here. Do you know what I'm saying? And a lot of people were like confused for years. I've been saying this. And I said, that is the thing that stands out to me. His kindness, but that kindness stretches to everything he does. When it comes to our relationship together, the way that he treats our kids see the kindness in him. It stretches. To me, it's generational. It's a legacy that I want to leave with our children about. That is my thing. Sorry.
I agree with you.
We agree with you.
I agree with you.
Great.
This is what I agree with you. And that's what I say. Some millennials, we have old school mindsets because character is the most important thing. But you speak about kindness, people, their minds will be blown. What? Yeah. Kindness? Yeah, you value kindness in someone? I have been speaking to or dating people where they get very upset because I've opened up my house to the youth here. Why do they all have to be in your house? Why have you gone to visit this person who's now in a crisis? Why do you have to go to the hospital now because this one's... It's like...
I can't go with you.
Like, what do you do?
Why do you give a pound to the person on the street?
But it's such a common thing now, and that's the thing. It's so common It is so common.
Because
Yeah.
we become selfish. As a world, we've become very self-centered. If there's remember, a lot of the times, if we see anything that's terrible that the world should come to, it's again on social media. But otherwise, in our world, in our everyday, it's about me, how I drive, it's about me in my car. You know, I shop. I don't even want to go to the store because it's to me to keep people in a job. No, I want people to drop the things to me. Remember, you want everything to come to you. Everything is self-contained. Everything is self-centered. So because of that, sadly, individuals become self-centered. And even when you see, you've got younger children and you'll see some kids, they go out, you go in a function and they can't function. Why? I forgot my tablet, or the battery's died. Because instead of you using your imagination and you guys just playing and making fun, you lot can't function because you ain't got electrics. So again, it's all because when they've all got the electrics, everybody's just, and there's silence. Or they may share a game or do something. So we're becoming so self-preservant, so self-centered as a people that we no longer have that compassion for one another.
But do you know what it is? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, for me, I think for the other generation, when they start talking to me and I explain that, for me, it was very normal, like to look for somebody or to have somebody, because I met a lot of people in the church that weren't kind, and they just didn't understand why. They just couldn't understand. They just didn't understand me. They were like, "Why don't you like me?" And they didn't understand because I'm like, "You're just not a kind person." And I can see in the future
Down the head,
where we're gonna go,
yeah.
and what's gonna happen. Because what's gonna happen is that I'm gonna start not being. I'm gonna be unkind because I will learn from you, and we're both gonna be unkind. And our house is going to be war. And my thing is that my house has to be a sanctuary. It has to be a safe place for me. Because when I go out there, I'm out there and I'm doing things and I'm working in certain industries. And if I want to be able to come in my house and have a sanctuary,
Yes,
like a soldier's gone out to war, they have to have a place where they can lay their head and have peace. They can have laughter, they can have kindness that surrounds them. And I didn't want any of that. And so a lot of people didn't understand that. And to this day, I mean, I've got friends now that are coming back to me that didn't follow down my path. And they're like, I understand now, but what? That's how many years down the line? And now you're in a situation where unkindness has led you to a certain path. But for me, I can't explain. It's colour. It's like almost like when I meet somebody, I just see. It's like if kindness is a pink, when I meet you, oh well, you're pink too. Oh, you're pink too.
Right.
And I bring that around me, and I will become close. But if you're green and you're not, nah, we can't. And people don't understand, and I didn't get it. But sorry.
Yeah, no. Just on the color issue, and you talked about the people around you. I was just reading a book from a young lady, 10 important decisions that millennials make, actually. I wanted to walk with the book. And I was looking at it last night. It's talking about friendship in one of the 10 things that millennials should look at. And one of the quotes was that we are the sum of the 5 friends we keep, the average of the 5 friends we keep. Check your friends. As the old people used to say, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are.
That's right.
You know, so you're quite right. So you've created, what I heard from you is that you've created a space for you. You wanted yours, this is what you defined. I want to come home to kindness. And you look for that in a mate. So you have that space. So you can go wherever you want to go. But you know, when I get home, I'm looking forward to go home to hubby.
And it's not just that, but what I find is that because of that, our children are kind. They're very kind people. And people say that all the time. But what that does, I smile at you know, you have this little smile, like, oh, when I was, it just reinforces that. And people say, oh, like people come and say, oh, why is your son like this? Why is this? And I'm like, and I smile because that is the home. That is the foundation. And I think I want the other generation to understand that this is not just about now.
Yes.
This is about your future. This is about half the reason why mental health has gone so wild. It's because there isn't that kindness, a place that you can be yourself and you can say, you know, I don't feel right today. And someone can say, you know what, babes, don't worry, just stay in bed. I've got this. You know, I've only got 20 in me today, but he's going to take that 80 and deal with it. And it's okay. And I think that's what they're missing. But I think there's a responsibility of that generation, of us showing that and teaching that and saying, this is what it is. And this is what really matters, because they won't understand what that generation is. This generation is going through is they think this is what's important now, right? But there's a space where you're going to be having that big house and having that person, but not having peace in your house and not having that kindness in your house. It will destroy that, because it doesn't mean anything. And it's like, it doesn't mean that just because you go down that path you won't have it, because I am clear about finances, and I am clear about ambition and doing things, because I progressed in my career. My husband's also progressed, but it's not to the detriment of us having a core kindness and feeling for each other. That doesn't mean anything, because if I can't speak to you and be my house, what does that really mean? Do you know what I'm saying? And that's what it's about. So I think people need to, when you're choosing a mate, you're looking for somebody, like I said to you, but with your subject matter, that person for me is not a wife material. That girl is not wife material, because a wife material, and yes, it's difficult to find people, girls that are, but they are out there. Because sometimes what happens is those kind people might be around girls like that, but they follow along, but they're not that person. So I would say for that generation, take your time and get to, even if there is a group of them, there might be girls that are kind, but they're not coming out with that. They've got that bravado, like, oh yes, it's true, you shouldn't be doing that. But in their hearts, I would say to you, this generation, you really need to take your time and get to know, and also get them away from that environment. So get them on a one-to-one level. Go out and actually take the time. Go and meet their household that they come from. You know, if you met my mum, you know that I come from a kind house. My mum is very hospitable. You would call my mum aunt, but she would feed you and she would do, so you would see that that's where I come from. So it's all of those things that make up a person. But that girl, no disrespect to her, but in my opinion, she's not wife material, and he's just Dasher. Carry on.
You know,
I mean,
go on, Asha, go on.
I'm
That was
mindful
your
that the
story.
time
Let's go to the next person.
You don't even need to do my story. We've kind of crossed boundaries.
No.
It's fine. So I was fine with mine.
No, I want to hear your subject matter.
Well, no, see, I was getting a little bit political, because we're in this world today, and I've been looking at our world leaders, and I'm very concerned. Because I'm like, Mayor of London, Lord have mercy. Then we have in Parliament the debacle last week. Yes, so it was very embarrassing. Grown adults arguing, nearly going into fight, because they were in a dispute over the Speaker of the House, in actual fact, had to step in and make a decision, which normally is not the norm. They would have to make the votes and do whatever, till they forced him to apologize, and we're saying he may have to resign. But he felt he had to step in, because he was trying to protect as well the MPs that had already been accosted because of the situation in Gaza, and wanting to put in aid and requesting a ceasefire, which no one is publicly saying there needs to be a ceasefire. And then I looked at with this happening here, and we're having elections here, also something that was highlighted to me. Globally right now, elections are coming all around, okay, especially in the Western world, in France, in America, and here. And I'm looking at the so-called candidates, and I'm like, Lord have mercy. What is this world coming to? From Putin to Xi Jinping to Biden and Trump and Rishi Sunak and Stay-at-home. I'm like, is it me, or has the world gone mad? Nobody seems to have the integrity and the decent moral standing to care, one, for people, and to stand by their mandates that are for the people that elected you. So I'm here thinking, you know, as a Christian, they say, oh, it's biblical, the world is coming to an end, Armageddon. Yes, Lord, I don't want to be here in Armageddon. But is it then, should I even vote? Am I wasting my time? Because there's nobody to vote for, in my eye. But then when you don't vote, am I just going to trust in the Lord because, yes, he will save and he will keep me? Or do I actually make a decision to say, look, Father, direct me on who at least is I don't even want the better of the evil, because I don't want the evil. But, you know, just where can you go? Because I am a very conscientious person. in society. I have my
You want social responsibility.
you know, about my carbon footprint. I'm that person. So I need to see somebody that has those values, because I can't vote for you. Like, I won't get a Tesla because I don't like Elon Musk's behavior. I don't care. Do you see what I mean? Maybe you should give me one for free. I don't know. But I'm not going to pay my money. No, actually, I won't. Actually, I'm so against this thought process right now. I won't. So it's just things like that. So that is what I was going to bring to the table. In today's society, with things happening now, and the reason why some of these senior people are still in positions are because millennials and younger don't even want to vote. When I talk to people, they're not voting. They have the voting right, but they're not voting because they're like, they're nonsense. So where are we going to be in another 10 years' time if they're not even voting for people? At Biden's age, why don't you want to retire?
The thing, I think what it is, Anna, it goes back to some of the stuff that we talked about earlier, like you mentioned, which is that it's the point of the matter. The new generation, they don't care for, they want to see change. And if they don't see change, they were like, well, what's the point of me? It's almost like a disengagement when you talk about the church. If people are in the church and want to see change, or they want to see some kind of improvement, and they don't see it, there is a disengagement that comes about, and it works. Sorry, my HR hat comes on again. It's a culture of an organisation. If people don't feel like they'll just move on or move to a place where they feel like it's more suitable to them. Yeah. So the only things that you can't leave the planet, you know, you're stuck here.
So Virgin and they've gone up, so they're making a Mars hotel. So
yeah. So I think what it is that it's getting to the point where people are now starting to say, right, I want to go and get myself, carve out a little place for my own self. A little land that is for me. It's like my little kingdom, and I'm going to rule it, and I'm going to have my own well, my own water, my own everything, and then do what I'm doing. I think that's where it's going, because people are not going to tolerate being pushed in this kind of direction where they know they're being misled. They know that what they do, well, what they vote for is not always coming back to what they voted for. And they're not going to, a lot of that generation, like the new, they're not going to just keep on getting up and going to a place and just voting for people and having the same result. It's just not going to work. They're going to just find new ways of dealing with it, which is disengagement. I think just disengage and just do what they're doing. And no one can say anything to them because they're not seeing any change. You can't say to them, well, if you do this, this is going to happen. Because before, that's what a lot of us were told. You vote for this and this is going to happen. And you kind of hope that there was a hope and a sort of thing where, oh, things might change, and you hoped for the 5 years or 4 years, things hasn't really manifested. So now you can't go to them. It's like what Asha said about, there's that, oh, we're going to vote for you regardless of what you do. Those days are gone. People are not going to do that. No. People are not going to stand up and say, I'm accepting you for who you are as a prime minister, even if you don't do nothing for me. Those days are gone. So I think there's going to be a disengagement and another process that's going to be forged. That's what I see, where we're not going to deal with you no more. We're going to do our own thing and just get on with our lives and have our own water and our own electric and our own everything and just do it that way. That's how I see it. The preppers are rising. That's what I'm going to say.
I see that. It doesn't help because, again, if you are relational, you also look at the charisma of the individuals as well. And then now, because we're such social media, we don't just get the individuals because we've watched the news or the TV. We're seeing people in how they look in all kind of form, shape and fashion. So then when now the people come and you're talking and you want to leave me, I'm like, nah, hairstyle, I can't even take your hairstyle. Do you know what I mean? I can't roll with you. It's so silly, but it's simple things that I know impact people's voting rights because they don't want to deal with someone that looks like that.
Yeah, but
you see what I mean? And it's silly.
But Anna, the thing is,
but it happened.
Why you're saying what you're saying, but this is the same symptoms that is across the board where when it comes to choosing a mate, they'll have, oh, your hair doesn't look right, your shoes is not right, or something's not right. And so they will stop themselves from actually getting to that person and get to a point where that kindness is. Because there's people that are kind that can do the work, but because they don't look the path, they're like, oh, well, it can't be them. I want somebody else. And I think sometimes we need to really...
But that's what I said, that's the problem.
It's part of the problem. It's part of the problem. Take a step. I mean, what do you think, Asha, in regards to what Anna's saying about... Do you vote, number one?
So, I do vote.
Oh, you do?
I do vote. You know, I was one of those people that it was drilled into us
To do it.
the fight that took place in order to have the right to vote.
Right.
Because for a long time, we wanted a voice and didn't have it. Like legally, we were not allowed to vote. So,
yeah.
you know, I did get a lot of that growing up, that, you know, you must exercise your right to vote. But I think, I don't want to get too political, but I think that one of the biggest challenges is the way our political system is built. So within the UK, we don't vote for our Prime Minister, we vote for our MP in a particular constituency. And whoever ends up Prime Minister isn't necessarily the person with the most votes in the country. And the perfect example of that is when you saw during Jeremy Corbyn's campaign, loads of young people voted. Like I think it was like one of the highest turnouts on record for young people. And I think a lot of young people who didn't actually follow politics, they were not interested or invested in politics, they became involved, they became interested, they became excited, and then they were confused as to how is it that you've gotten more votes in terms of numbers, but still not ended up in. And I think, like you said, a lot of people disengage because they're saying, well, maybe my vote doesn't actually count. So yes,
I don't even like who you've got out there to count.
No, but the thing is, when you look at the votes, like what Ash just said, for example, Jeremy had captured a generation and had said that he was going to do certain things.
Yeah.
And I think to see that it didn't manifest like crossover,
Right.
you had people like Stormzy on IG saying, vote for Jeremy, I'm with Jeremy, you know, and the young people were captured.
But that's what I'm saying, though.
And
The policies of what you thought the Labour government was going to bring, that's what you voted for.
Sure.
But then the Conservative government came in and you're like, oh Lord, here we go again, right? So like the fast that they've got, they just said that we had a recession. Lies. Your Oxford word of austerity is a recession. Yeah? Now you're just having someone call you out that it's a recession. You know? But how did they get back there? Again, is it because we didn't vote enough? Do you see what I'm saying?
I think
Do you see where I'm coming from?
I don't think they understand the system. Because
right.
it was exactly like that people didn't understand. It wasn't strategic enough.
No.
Where, you know, you have to be quite strategic and you have to understand the system and how it works. But I think it caused damage because the level of young people that went out,
yeah.
and then to have that thrown back, they were like, what is this? And it changed their view of voting. And so I think there's definitely an education that needs to happen. But also I think maybe the UK needs to reconsider about the system, because for it to be a bit more...
I think that is something that's in discussions now, and proportionate representation and all of this. But I think ultimately when it comes to politics, you can never guarantee what's going to happen, because like you said, people can write a whole manifesto, they can promise all sorts of things, and then they'll go into power and it doesn't happen. However, I still think you should vote anyway. And I think even if you don't vote, register to vote. If you look at it purely from a personal perspective, you know, it improves your credit score. So, you know, there's always
That's the only reason why I'm doing it. That's the only reason why I'm on the electoral register. To improve my credit score. Otherwise, I'm not interested. You understand? Because it's so crazy but again, look at what you thought of. I know my parents would never have known that being on the electoral register would help their credit score. Do you see what I mean? But we're aware now that that's a positive. Do you see what I mean? So the world is changing. Generations are changing. That's something that is important to you. So it is, you know, that's what I was thinking, you know, politically, and we always say, oh, well, the church is not political. Yes, it is. We keep trying to pretend that that's not a part of us. We have politics within the church. So the church is political. Do you see what I mean?
We do voting systems.
Yeah.
So
So
let's
it's
not play games.
political. Do you see what I mean? So we're not drawing lots, you know, things like this. So at the end of the day, I'm like, again, it's about being informed and, you know, those basic life skills from a young age. What is politics about? You know, how can you be a part of that? And things like that. And I don't think it's wrong to even share that. I'm not saying pick a side, but, you know, give an open view of politics. But as I look at the world leadership today, I'm just like, this place has gone to pot.
Well, definitely. I mean, the thing is, I think it's a process that everybody has to go through in terms of, because it's like there's no one perfect. We're not perfect individually, and I think the best thing you can do is look at the things that you agree with, and just go with that. That's how I see it. But like, even if you are on the electoral, it doesn't mean you have to vote. It still doesn't. It does do well for your credit report, but you don't. Physically not voting doesn't mean that it's going to be less than, but just being registered is enough sometimes. I think that helps it. But I think that there is nobody that is really perfect. But I think it does. My thing is that it comes with learning. If the schools or the education system is not doing it, I think it's an opportunity for the church to step in and do something and to help and to educate. Because when you look at the US, a lot of the churches have got that side where they've got that civil rights and that sort of action that helps the young people to kind of like understand it, you know.
Just to piggyback off that, I'll say, especially if we just go back a couple years and we look at a lot of the social injustices that were taking place. There was a time, like where you said that the church stood up for social injustice and fought against many of the social injustices. They had a voice and influence over many pivotal decisions that took place, even in government. And I know for the younger generation, that can be frustrating sometimes when the church remains silent on certain issues that really and truly, like, you know, I've heard the phrase that, you know, Jesus was a radical because he didn't actually go with the flow and remain silent on a lot of topics. Like, he spoke against injustice, and that's just to speak. I am a supporter of the church being vocal against major injustices that take place in society, and I know that many young people who are passionate about some of these things would be very interested about getting involved, and you never know where it could end up and what changes we could make, and it's another way to make the church more relevant in society today.
I agree. What do you think?
Yeah, politics, huh? Well, I got two angles to look at the scenario that Anastasia so, skillfully brought forward. We all face it. A couple of words come to my mind. Yes, we see sort of a disengagement now with a lot of folk when it comes to politics. And that, I think, is a reaction to disillusionment, disappointment. And it reminds me of the Bible, where it says, in the last days, men's heart will fail them for fear. There is, I think, after the Trump era especially, and his brother Boris Johnson, after their era of, real dramatic politics, they made politics really, it's like
reality TV.
Brought it into that.
I don't know about that.
And so people, people really miss Trump. Actually, they miss the entertainment.
It's just entertaining. I just laugh after people. I'm like, really? You put that man in power?
But seriously, the Bible says there'll be that element of hopelessness and despair in the end time. And why I think we are in that time now is because of politics. One of the reasons. There is distrust of politicians. People have placed their trust in politicians before. But behind the scenes of the politics, you rightly said it earlier on, you knew when you voted for Conservative, this is the charter, this is the manifesto. You're going to get better housing, or single women will be looked after, education. They were in control of their manifesto. Now, I think we now live in a global economy. It's no longer national and local. We are affected by macroeconomics and microeconomics. So although a government or an opposition may want to give certain things to its country, it's not up to them anymore because we've become a global village. And I think that has really messed up a lot of countries, but it is also intentional. There are a group of people who really control what happens in the world. So they are controlling the show, and they're now in real control. So much so that they can develop weapons of mass destruction and really change the whole paradigm of how we operate. Everybody, we had to go online for everything in the pandemic. That was intentional. That just didn't happen by chance. And we're not going to go into that today, but it was documented like 30, 40 years ago. This is what we want to achieve. So now there are groups of people, a small handful, who are controlling the show. And so England, which was such a stable economy, stable country and so on, the Queen was there, which gave stability, and now we have our king. But the Queen was revered around the world, and investors came to England because of the Queen. That gave the country stability, unlike any other. So lots of Chinese, or people from all over the world, the Russians even, we only found out that they were here recently, which is another story. I mean, the Russians are supposed to be our enemies, right? But you got your enemies supplying you with gas and electricity. Hello. And then we found out that all these billionaires were in London. But they were enemies.
Now you want to freeze their assets.
So there's a lot of distrust now. So who do you believe? And who could you trust? And on top of that, you got the G7 countries and the micro people like Bill Gates and the few who were involved in the pandemic. They're controlling the show. So it's not down to local economies anymore. And so I think the ordinary citizen who has to vote, they've just given up, because everything they thought they were going to get is not even down to the Prime Minister to deliver it. Because we just came out of the Great Depression from Wall Street in 2007, just coming out of it, Brexit. Who brought Brexit there? And when we just going through Brexit, pandemic. We barely come out of the pandemic, war in Ukraine and Russia, so electricity has to go up from £300. So, look, I think a lot of young people now, through their phones, they get a lot of information. The kind of stuff that we would have believed before and nobody was able to check it, these young people have already checked in a long time, and they say, see these guys, let me just look after myself. It's an existential kind of existence now. Look after me, myself, and I, because the world is going crazy. We don't know what will happen tomorrow. Let me see what I can get and fix me. And I think we've all been kind of being forced into this sort of existential lifestyle where you got to look after yourself because you can't trust. And those you trust, they're not in control. So let me just control my space.
Wow. Well, on that note, what's your last subject matter, Pastor Judah?
I thought I was going to get away today.
On that note, yes, what's your subject matter?
Well, I was thinking along the lines of some of the things that came up already. I have an interest in social justice issues, and I particularly I'm looking at the United Nations Sustainable Developmental Goals for 2030, and one of those 17 goals, goal number 5, was gender equality, equality for women, and so I wanted to look at, to hear what the panel's view on equality was. What are some of the roadblocks to equality for women? Will we ever get it? Will they get there? So that's what my mind was thinking about, the injustices that are done to women. And as I said, particularly now where it seems as though all these other genders have come and taken over the plight for women. And they have such an equal voice. As a matter of fact, their voices are so loud and they got sustainable achievements. They have a lot of people behind them. Everybody's behind all the other gender groups and so on. And what about women?
Right. So Anna, what do you think about that? What do you think about diversity and for women specifically? Not transgender, not any, but specifically for women. Because you mentioned about feminism, and I know that. So how does that? Is that a challenge for you with feminism and rights for women?
No, I mean, I'm about equality. I even believe that the voice of a child should be heard. But the issue I have is when you want to share the same journey with me, but you don't want to go through what I'm going through. So a prime example, you know, as an African female, when I say to my Caucasian counterparts, would you like to go? No, 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 no. Why? If we're equal, why don't you want to share my journey? You don't have to think once you step out of your house what you have to say, the encounters you may have. This person might not like you. If you have an encounter with the law enforcement, which is when we was children, they're supposed to be your friend. No, you know, it's a whole different ball game for me. So why don't you want to share that with me if we are equal? Do you see what I mean? You can't pick and choose equality. Equality is supposed to be we are all on the same playing field. There's no hierarchy here. So that's why when, like you said, you know, I love everyone. But my thing is, if I'm already in my struggle, in my lane, I'm not taking on your lane as well. That's too much work. I'm already in this lane. You see what I mean? I'm just keeping it real. You know, so the trans community, that's fine. I'm happy for you. You do you. But I'm already in my struggle. You're not even touching on my struggle. So it's a thing where, and I said to somebody, they were like, yeah, but you can't denounce it. I said, I'm not denouncing them. Some of them look better than the actual born women, which is true. I've been out and I've seen and I'm like, wow, that hair is beautiful, this, do whatever. And then they turn around and I'm like, whoa, this is different, right? But I don't love you any less. I took all the hair information that individual gave me because their hair looked great. And I need my hair looking like that. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just like, I'm all for it. But when it comes to my struggle, what I don't like is when you want now for me to deny mine or for me to forget my struggle. You want me to forget that my people came from slavery. You want me to forget that as an African woman, I am taught and have been told I have to be 10 times better than my Caucasian counterpart. We are going for the same job, but I have to be overqualified for me to encounter even a look-in on the application form to get the job. And then when I get to the interview, I've got to be so fluffy, which is not my culture. But to be able to get into this environment, I got to become fluffy so that I can get the role. That's enough of my struggle then to take on that.
No, but,
Do you see what I'm
no,
saying?
but you just missed the next step, which is when you get in the role, you got to carry on being
Be
fluffy.
right?
Like-
So this is what I'm saying. So I'm continually going through a process, and what I don't think our people recognize, why I say we are amazing and we truly are created, wonderfully made. We are the most people that can adapt to change. We are one way inside, one way outside.
Code switching.
One way, do you understand? There's no one else that has to fix up, flex up, change up. Voice, tone, you hear me on the phone, it's totally different. So what I'm saying is, I love my people because we're the only ones. That's why other people try to come on board.
Right. Do you know what it is? For me, as a woman, I don't have a problem with equality for women. But but part of me feels that some of it has gone a bit far, and it's brought about some of the problems that we're talking about earlier on, which was the entitlement. So I have an issue with it from that perspective, if that makes sense, where now a woman thinks, oh, if you give me $15 for something, I should have more. And I think some of it is gone a bit skewed, and it's called a bit of an imbalance. I don't have a problem with equality, and I think women should have equality but I think equality is about choice. If I'm a woman and I choose then not to go back into the working environment and stay at home, then I shouldn't be looked down as, oh, because you haven't got a career, you're not a boss person. And it shouldn't be that way. It should be, I have a choice with my husband or a partner, and I should be able to choose how that goes about. So that's what it is for me. I don't have an issue with, the man leading. And I think that's been almost like stuck together with...
It's a dirty word. And being a housewife is a dirty word. You better not be a housewife.
Yeah.
You could be a homemaker because that can encompass many things. But you can't be a housewife.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like a lot of people, so for me, I don't have, you know, when I'm in an environment where there's women and they find out, oh, I don't tell them what my roles were before because I'm looking after our son and it's okay. But then later on when they find out, go, oh, it's a bit of a confusion, if that makes sense. Like I couldn't be both. And it's not taught as you can be both. And I say both as in different seasons. That means you can't be, I don't think it's, those women that are in the workplace, I salute you, and then you're coming home and you're doing all that stuff. That's good for you. But I don't think that I could be doing those things in both. I want to take time, a season where I'm actually with my child and looking after him and him getting to know me. The biggest thing that I've heard that really impacted me was last night. My son came up to me and said, "You're my best friend."
Oh,
Wow.
Because I spent that time with him, and he spends a lot of time with me. But that necessarily might not have happened if I didn't take that time out and say, I'm going to put my career at a certain place and then do what I'm doing. And it may be that I never go back into that career in that way, or I might do remote work. Oh, there's maybe other things. I mean, there's so many different things that I could do, but I don't want women to feel that because there is equality for women, because it was fought for, that means that's how you have to go in that direction. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Am I making sense? Oh, Ashley.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to make 2 points. My first point is, as in, I am all here for gender equality. But my question is, how do we define gender equality? Because, like you said, there are so many other agendas and additional viewpoints and things that have piggybacked on to gender equality that isn't really a measure of gender equality. It's like, how do we define it, and what are the measures of gender equality? Because for example, I do not believe it's right that you have a man doing one job and then he leaves, a woman replaces him, and her pay is significantly less. It doesn't make any sense. Like, if we're doing the same job, let's be paid the same amount. You know, I think people should be hired on merit, not necessarily because they're male, female, black, white, Chinese, Asian. Like, so I believe in equality. My second point, though, is it's similar to what you were saying before. I don't think we appreciate the damage that has been done over generations, because someone thinks that we can flick a switch and all of a sudden everyone's equal. And, you know, and I look at even my career and the area that I work in, there is not gender equality. And it's not even, it's so dire, the situation, that you don't even have the people applying to discriminate against. You look at the pilot workforce around the world and even within Europe, and you look at, it's something like, these are going to be slightly outdated figures a few years ago, but it was something like 7% of pilots are female. It's like 3% are from a black background and things. And you think, I didn't like that, and I wanted to do something about it. And when I started to speak to people in recruitment, and they were saying, you know, they don't even have the applicants to discriminate against, because you always think, oh, it's all discriminate. But if they are not there, you can't even discriminate.
Right.
It's like, so we're trying to do something way back when people are at the top of their careers, but who's actually going into the schools? Who's speaking to our young people to actually change the mindsets that we have, the attitudes that we have, how we view ourselves? We have been taught and programmed and conditioned over years to see ourselves as less than, to see ourselves that, you know, we're not good enough.
Excluded,
and we can't aspire to those things. I remember saying as young that I wanted to be a pilot, and people laughing at me. And that's not just people of other backgrounds, even our own people,
Your family.
our own people, family, friends telling us, come on, let's be a bit more realistic. Let's try and look at this instead. When you're going to school and teachers are telling you, you know, they don't employ people like you, and you know, you don't see that representation. All of these things, they influence our decisions later on. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is, in order for us to genuinely achieve greater equality, we have to start with our children and with our young people, and we have to reprogram our young people. How do they view themselves? How do they speak about themselves? What do they aspire to be? And I don't think we have those conversations enough. We just purely focus on things that in the grand scheme of things is not, I mean, they are important, but it's not going to be as impactful and influential as we believe it's going to be.
But can I just add, for example, in your area of expertise, that area requires a certain level of currency. I mean, you know,
Hard currency.
you know, that level of currency to be able to go into to do the training. Because I got a friend that's doing it, and they, you know, I know how what it takes. And so for me, sometimes it's not even just about teaching the children, and they could have that aspiration. You can go to schools and say, yeah, you can be a pilot and you can do all this stuff. But if they don't have access to the currency to be able to get into it, I mean, that's what, sorry.
So just to come back on that one, okay. Yeah, so I tell you why I say, so I do go into the schools, because after that conversation I had, when they said, I decided to myself that I am going to do something about this. And I do go to a number of schools and colleges. And when you sit down and speak, number one, when I speak to a lot of the female students, they will turn around and they say, well, it's a bit of it's an odd thing. Like, they wouldn't have even considered being a pilot as an option. If you're going to work in aviation, you're going to be cabin crew. That's what you're going to do. Yeah. You know, it's not thought of. So, and when you speak to a lot of the young people from ethnic minorities, again, like, I do an exercise where you put certain professionals on the board and you ask, like, describe what this person looks like. So as a pilot, what do you see when you think of a pilot? An older, sort of like a middle-aged white man, grey hair, like a certain accent, like from a certain demographic within the UK. Yes, finances are an obstacle. That is a huge obstacle. And I think that over time, we can put things in place to better support our young people. I use myself as an example all the time. A little broke boy from Hackney, right? I didn't have any money. It was unrealistic, but I was so sure that this is what I want to do. I was sure that God has placed this dream in my heart for a reason. Every single thing that could have gone wrong went wrong. I'm not going to pretend that it was some easy journey. And, you know, sometimes, you know, they used to tell us if we were little, if you work hard and get good grades, you can be anything. It's not as simple as that. It does not work like that. And yes, it's harder when you're navigating your career progression in a country that, although they can be pleasant, they have other obstacles. They're not always over the moon to see you trying to break into certain areas. But it's not impossible. And it takes people to be bold enough to break through some of those glass ceilings and have a foot in the door and be a part of the conversation, because you have to raise up another generation of people behind you. You have to have the representation there to then bring about change. I know some people that have broken through and then they kind of forget where they're coming from. They forget the impact, the challenge. You can't live your life like that. It's like, you should be able to come together, even as a church. I don't see why we can't implement certain things within our Pathfinder system, or we can find a bit of funding for partial sponsorships and grants and things. There are so many ways of tackling the additional barriers that will come up later. But you need to have a desire within yourself in the beginning to aspire to these things. Like, you need to believe that you can do it. You need to think that you are good enough to aspire to a lot of these professions that we have been told are beyond our reach. And that's why I say I don't think I can stress enough how important it is to sow that seed within our young people and our children, that they are just as good, they are just as capable, and there is no role or profession that is beyond their reach.
I just want to interject here that one of the main issues that we have within the UK, again, is the diaspora. If you were out of this country and you were in Africa, in the Caribbean, that would not be the same mindset. But because you are here and are the grandparents and the parents that came, their mindset was you just need to get a good job, hold your head down and work and make the money so you can provide for your family. There was no thought process of entrepreneurship. You know, there was no thought process of us doing anything else except for in these jobs that we were allowed to be in, which was the healthcare service, transportation, things like that. Those are the core areas that they were allowed to be. So they just wanted you, again, a good job to them was passing you on, look, if you come into TFL, you get free rail card, you get this, whatever. There's a first family transport. That's helping the family, you know. So there wasn't anything like, right, we've got this business and you're going to take up the family business. Our name, our legacy is going to continue because it's going to be something and sons and this and that. And then, you know, you bring it down. We didn't have that same concept. And that's another reason why the value of us as a people has been devalued, because they just thought they had to come here and just hold a job down and so you can pay your bills. Yes, you buy a house. They're all homeowners, but you buy a house and then at least that's it, and you leave that to the children and that's it. There was nothing beyond. It's only now again the Gen X's and down that are like, nah, that foolish I'm a boss nonsense. But you know, you can now come and be whoever it is that you want to be. Because when you were in school, I was pigeonholed. I wanted to do IT. And then when we were choosing our options, they were like, oh no, you can go and do secretary. I said, huh? I said, no, love. I'm not going to be anybody's secretary. I'm going to have a secretary. I was like that from when I was little. And the teacher just looked at me. I went, whatever. I bypassed them and went to the IT class. I was in the IT class for 4 weeks before they realized in the other class that I wasn't in class. It was like, you're absent, you're getting detention. I said, I've been in school all the time. I'm in every class. When they found out, they were like, you're in the wrong class. No, I'm not. And the teacher goes, out of all my students, she's the most apt. She's already adapted, knows how to, I break down computers. Because I like things. That's why I broke down my dad's TV and it never quit. But you know, I like to learn things and do things. And you pigeonholing me saying, I'm going to be a typist. No, thank you. I want to know what this machine is that you've got in front of me. And so these are the kind of things where I had to be my own pioneer to say, I'm going to be different. I'm not going to. And you did have really good grades. And that was okay. But they still had no value of you to be anything more than in these roles. 100%. So it's for you now to have a passion and a fire in your own belly to say, nah, I want to. But again, that's from the household. You were still blessed that people poured into you so that you weren't scared. You could be a Spartan to go out there and do things. Where many people, sadly, they don't have that. They're so demoralized but subconsciously unaware that they just take on the everyday roles that people say and they never think that this can be done. When I'm teaching and everything, and I tell the kids, it doesn't matter. I always highlight for business. Could you imagine if Burger King said we're not going to make a burger because there's Big Mac? They got the Whopper. But you know what I mean? KFC, Chick-fil-A, all these things. You can't be scared to try and go out. And I said, and there may be some that have gone straight off, but you learn to be a great business person from failing at business.
100%.
And that's the same way as life. 100%. You learn to be better in your life because of the failures that you had 100%. That you now have learned from and you overcome.
Yeah, definitely. So, I think also the other thing is that it's a team sport. A lot of people don't realise it, that it's very much about team. You know, the family's one thing, but you have to have a community. And I think, you know, from an African point of view, we do things like partners where you'd put money together and it would be an award. So if somebody wants to be a pilot, you can go and tap into that and say, you know what, it might not be the 100K, but here's 50 to support. And that's something, Jim saying, sorry.
Can I just say, because I think sometimes we have to give credit where credit is due. I think I was extremely blessed to be in the position that I was in. Even the fact that I remember my church gave me money. My church that didn't even have a proper budget, they came together and contributing
That's
money.
community, though.
Conferences,
community.
different spaces, when they didn't have enough to say, open up the church for a weekend. We don't always like to give. So I remember I raised something like $4,000 in one weekend.
Wow.
And so community is important. And
Yeah.
sometimes you speak of a lack of community, but I just need to acknowledge and that
Same.
there is community that exists, and I have been a recipient of community and family and church, and there's a greater appreciation and love for them because of that.
But I think because you was able to tap into it, but I think some people don't understand that they have to tap into community, because there's this mindset of I can do it all by myself, or I have to put everything. Do you know? There's that thing that's been pushed, that
The
individualism.
independent. That's when they were singing independent woman. No, I don't want to be independent. Let's share. I'm not down with that.
Do you know what I'm saying? There's been this thing where it's about if they feel like there's some kind of shame in being able to go to your church and say, let's open up for a week, let's do something. They shouldn't be that way. I'm saying really tap into your community, really tap into the people around it and connect. And also those that have, come together with other people and create systems that you can be anonymous and sponsor, because it's not everybody that wants people to know they have.
Yeah.
But create a system where you can be anonymous and just be able to support, because no man is an island, and we must learn that, because this thing of equality is about what you said before, Pastor Jude, about unity, bringing people together and accessing certain things. But you can't just access things by yourself. If people keep things themselves, you won't get the support you need. And no one knows that actually, if you never vote. And also another thing, and I would say, is words. Speaking out into the atmosphere that I'm going to be a pilot, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a pastor, does something. I think it really does something. And that's just my thought on it. But your last thought will be you, Pastor Jude. I'll let you speak, and then we're going to wrap up on this one.
Well, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. Because gender inequality is the oldest and most pervasive form of inequality in the world.
Right.
And that's why the United Nations has been looking at this, and they've set it as one of their priority objectives. Gender discrimination, and particularly in reference to women I'm talking about, so I'm looking at justice for women. I've coined the phrase, when women succeed, families and nations win.
100%. Wow.
As I read through a lot of stuff on gender equality, I discovered that the United Nations, they didn't spell that out, but my deduction is, I've got evidence to prove one of the reasons they've made this such a high priority is because of socioeconomic reasons.
Right.
Because the statistics are all there. For instance, 20% of global homeowners are female, 80% are male. Education, there's so much disparity when it comes to women. And they are overwhelmingly convinced that the way to solve the world's inequalities in other areas, the way to solve global poverty, the way to stop war is to empower women. Women do more work than men and are paid less than men. In most homes, and they got the statistics for them, the inequality with women, it impacts every area of economies. In education, rural women, 39% of women, girls, get education compared to 45% of boys. So there's a disparity there from the start. Less women go into education, in other words, than men, and for lots of different reasons. In many cultures, they push the boys to be the breadwinners. Certain values they hold about men, so they always push men. And because of the patriarchal and misogynistic thinking for centuries we've inherited, men always tend to get a priority. When it comes to employment, women are again treated with disparity. The evidence is very clear that more men get jobs than women. Also in terms of pay, education, we talk about work, health. Women don't have power over their bodies. Decisions are made for them in terms of things like abortion and even general health care. They don't have the autonomy to make those decisions. It's made for them. And so when they look at all this, in all the key areas, education, health, even economics, as we talk about property, women are treated with such levels of discrimination. And so, for instance, the pandemic brought out a lot of data for them. Women have to work out of the home and still come home and run another shift.
That's right.
Homework, cooking, house cleaning.
That's why I want one shift. That's why I'm.
Right? and so it's impacting women's health. So a woman has to work much harder to achieve the same sort of a financial equity, but they still get less because they have to do much more. And so, you know, I really feel, looking at all the facts, there's a lot of injustice done to women, and it's a man's world still. Even though there have been improvements, there have been a lot of change, a lot of push for women to have a say, for their voice to be valued, for them to have visibility, to be around the decision-making tables of the world, and to have equality. We're way behind. As a matter of fact, they estimate it will take another 175 years to achieve equality if we go at the pace we're going. So we need to push, Asha. We need the men, and it's men controlling stuff. The men are controlling the stuff. Look at the church, the Christian church, the Roman Catholic Church. A woman will never become a priest. And it's because of the Bible, which was used, unfortunately, to peddle a theology of discrimination. And that has impacted the entire Christian church. The Protestant and the Roman Catholic churches are just the same. Thank God many Protestant churches are now empowering women, but many don't. And so if you look at it, and I wouldn't go into the stats here because I may lose my job, but if you look at misogyny to the highest level, some denominations, they will remain nameless for this interview, where you may have over 300 ministers, male, 300 presidents, male, conference at a conference level. You may have 150 union presidents, all male. You will have 13 division presidents, all male, and a general conference president, male. Hello, in a population of 21 million members, and 65% of them are female, every single leader is male. That's an injustice. That's inequality. That's not Christian. And it's got to stop.
Thank you for that. On that note, this is the IN2G show. Thank you for joining us. Yes, guys, I really enjoyed this conversation.
Sorry,
Thank you. Thank you for that. Right, and thank you so much for joining us in this conversation, IN2G. It's been really interesting. We've gone places that maybe has been talked about in some places, but not as detailed. But it's been amazing. I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to another opportunity to having this and more conversations in the future. Speak to you soon.